When you first encounter Sherlock Holmes, you often meet him as a man solving a single isolated puzzle. He's the specialist called in to find a missing heirloom or identify a strange visitor. But in the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle does something much more ambitious. This second collection of stories isn't just a series of adventures, it's a transformation. We watch Holmes evolve from a brilliant, somewhat detached specialist into a man caught in a global struggle against a centralized, organized evil. The stakes rise from domestic disputes to matters of state, and finally, to a battle that threatens the very life of the detective himself. The collection begins by establishing just how much Holmes relies on his ability to see through the noise of the obvious. In the story Silver Blaze, we see a case that seems to be about a racing horse and a dead trainer. To the police, it's a matter of theft and murder, but Holmes looks deeper. He realizes the horse wasn't stolen by a stranger, but rather the trainer was killed while attempting to commit fraud by nicking the horse's tendons. It's a classic example of Holmesian deduction. The truth isn't found in what is missing, but in the specific, often overlooked details of how things were left behind. As the stories progress, the tone shifts from the intellectual puzzle to something much grimmer. In The Man with the Twisted Lip, we step into the darker, more desperate corners of London. This is a story about the secrets people keep to escape their lives. We meet a man who leads a double life, transforming himself into a beggar to disappear into the city's opium dens. It's a reminder that the world Holmes inhabits is not just a collection of logic problems, but a place where people are driven by hidden addictions and a desperate need for anonymity. We also see Holmes beginning to deal with the weight of history. In The Adventure of the Musgrave Ritual, the mystery isn't a recent crime, but an ancient one. By decoding a cryptic, ritualistic set of instructions, Holmes is able to uncover a secret involving a royal crown. This story is important because it shows that Holmes isn't just looking at the present, he is capable of decoding the past to solve the problems of the now. It connects his brilliant mind to a sense of deep historical continuity. This theme of the past coming back to haunt the present becomes a recurring throughout the collection. We see this clearly in The Adventure of the Gloria Scott, which reveals the very first case Holmes ever solved. It involves a dark family secret and a crime committed years prior, a dispute over treasure that ended in tragedy and disappearance. This introduces one of the most important psychological themes in the series, the idea that you can run from your history, but you can never truly escape it. The people we meet in these stories are often living under masks or false names, trying to navigate the rigid social pressures of Victorian society by pretending to be someone else. As the collection moves forward, the scale of the crimes expands. We move away from the domestic sphere and into the world of high-stakes political conspiracy and ruthless criminals. In The Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb, the stakes become more visceral. Here, Holmes deals with the theft of a vital state secret, and the criminals are far more brutal than a simple thief, going so far as to physically mutilate their victim to protect their prize. This shift shows that the world is becoming more dangerous, and the puzzles Holmes solves are no longer just intellectual exercises. They are matters of national security. This escalation is necessary because Doyle is preparing us for the arrival of a true equal. Before we meet the ultimate antagonist, we are introduced to Mycroft Holmes, Sherlock's brother. Mycroft is a fascinating character because he represents what Sherlock might have been without his restless energy. He is even more brilliant than Sherlock, but he is sedentary and lacks the drive to act. Instead, he serves as a silent, watchful pillar of the British government, using his intellect to maintain order from the sidelines. Mycroft is the bridge between the world of individual crimes and the world of organized, systemic power. This brings us to the climax of the collection, and indeed, what Doyle originally intended to be the end of the character, the introduction of Professor Moriarty. If Sherlock Holmes is the ultimate practitioner of logic, Moriarty is the ultimate practitioner of chaos. He is described as the Napoleon of crime, a mathematical genius who has organized London's entire criminal underworld into a single efficient machine. Moriarty doesn't just commit crimes, he orchestrates them. He is the invisible hand behind 1,000 different thefts, murders, and frauds. For the first time, Holmes isn't just solving a puzzle, he is fighting a war against a centralized intellect. The confrontation between these two forces takes us far from the foggy streets of London to the Reichenbach Falls in Switzerland. This is the ultimate showdown. the two men travel to the edge of the abyss, where the struggle becomes physical and final. In a dramatic struggle, Holmes and Moriarty fall together into the waterfall. When Watson arrives, he finds only Holmes's walking stick and a final note. The implication is devastating. In order to dismantle Moriarty's vast, invisible web, Holmes has had to sacrifice himself. He has fallen into the abyss to ensure that the Napoleon of crime falls with him. It is a moment of profound finality, suggesting that the cost of true justice is sometimes the life of the seeker. When we look back at the collection as a whole, several themes emerge that elevate these stories from simple detective fiction to something much more complex. There is a profound sense of the duality of identity. So many of the characters Holmes encounters are living a double life, wearing a mask to hide a past sin or a social disgrace. This reflects a very real Victorian anxiety about the stability of social status and the fear that anyone you meet might be someone else entirely. We also see the tension between pure logic and the messy reality of human emotion. While Holmes prides himself on being a calculating machine, the stories often show that human variables, guilt, fear, and passion, can complicate even the most perfect deduction. Logic can find the killer, but it can't always account for the desperation that drove them to the act. There is also the recurring shadow of the past. Whether it's a dispute over treasure or a secret child hidden to avoid social stigma, the characters are constantly being pulled back by things they thought were buried. In Doyle's world, the past is never truly gone. It is a living force that eventually resurfaces to demand an accounting. Finally, there is the shift from the individual to the systemic. We start the collection with Holmes solving the problems of individuals and end it with him facing a global criminal network. This transition changes the very nature of the detective's work. He moves from being a specialist who solves puzzles to a defender of civilization who must confront organized evil. The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes is a masterclass in how to grow a character. By the time we reach those Reichenbach Falls, we aren't just watching a detective solve a case, we are watching a man face his own mortality in a struggle for the soul of a city. It is a collection that takes the mechanics of deduction and uses them to explore the deep, often dark, complexities of the human condition.